Despite not much success on the pitch to boast about, the only English speaking country in South America holds the enviable distinction of being the oldest football association in the CONCACAF region. In fact, the establishment of the then British Guyana FA predates the world governing body FIFA. The year 1902 was also history making for the beautiful game here in the capital city as the Georgetown Football Club was birthed. The Border Blues, as they are called, still exists and is the oldest football club in the region. Since securing independence in 1966, Guyana has added another unrivaled milestone by providing the region with its first referee to carry a whistle in a championship final of a World Cup football tournament. She is Partition Diane Ferreira James. Guyana's rich football history, however, began some 140 years ago when British Guyana-born Andrew Watson captained Scotland against England. The 6-1 drubbing inflicted on England at the Oval on March 12, 1881 remains the widest margin of defeat at home for the English. Andrew Watson is not only the first black player of International Association football, but a British Guyanese is also the first black administrator of the beautiful game.
Greetings and welcome to all of you locked into Facebook live stream and YouTube. Welcome to this debut show, a delayed one. And in order would be sincere apologies to all who would have tuned in last Friday, but due to circumstances technically beyond our control, we were forced to reschedule. And here we are today, thanking you so much for your tolerance and understanding and joining us for this debut show, Real Football Vibes, where we are going to be keeping it real on the beautiful game. But of course, the emphasis will be on Guyana in the Caribbean. But no doubt we'll be looking at football globally as we speak. Hungary playing against Portugal. History is being recorded. Ronaldo becoming the first player to play in 5 European Championships. Just a few minutes ago, Afghanistan and India played to a 1-1 draw. So we're going to be feeding you what's happening with the beautiful game. Of course, at 3 today, the big matchup, defending World Cup champions, France against Germany. But today we focus on Real Football Vibes, reviewing the Golden Jaguars' performance at the recently concluded campaign when they were humbly booted out of 2022 Qatar World Cup qualifiers in the CONCACAF zone. Today, I'm joined from different parts of the globe, thanks to modern day technology, with an esteemed panel of former Jaguars who would have excelled on the field of play. And let me introduce to you the panel as we look back on Guyana's performance, all the way from Atlanta, a former Golden Jaguar at the youth level and the senior level, and now resident in the Atlanta, played also in Antigua while I was domiciled there, and was also a member of the first professional football team, the GT Cobras. A pleasant good afternoon to you, Dr. Keith London, former of Thomas United.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How everyone doing?
Thank you for joining us. And also alongside Keith, Dr. Keith London here tonight, will be from Finland. And of course, they're way ahead. the most capped international footballer for Guyana, Walter Moore, who also excelled in the Trinidad Professional League, had some 25 goals over 100 odd games playing there in Trinidad. A pleasant good afternoon to you. I'm sure it's close to evening there in Finland, Walter.
Yeah, first apologies for being outside. As you can see, I'm in my car. I'm hiding from my son because it's bedtime for him. I'm the one that usually put him to bed. So so I'm
Great, great.
in the
It's a pleasure, delight for you to afford us some of your precious time, and we look back on what happened over the last campaign. And
yeah.
last but not least, from New Jersey in the USA, been doing some outstanding work, just like he did in midfield for Guyana, and the big soccer academy out there catering for youths, the Coyote McKinnon Soccer Academy. A pleasant good afternoon to you. Coyote perhaps was associated with one of the most talented or most successful Golden Jaguar team in recent time. A pleasure to have you, Coyote.
President, good afternoon, and hi to the viewers. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So there you have it, the panel, and we'll be looking at what transpired. Maybe we can assume or get to the root cause. We can look at solutions. But what we will be doing is while we look at what took place, we'll be educating and looking at it constructively, analytically, and definitely we'll be dealing with it incisively, calling the spade a spade, because this is real football vibes and we're keeping it real. There's nothing to hide. We're going to kick off things first and hear what the hierarchy of football in Guyana had to say, and not much, but at least he responded and shared in the heart of the nation. President of the Guyana Football Federation, Mr. Wayne Ford.
All that I can say at this point is that I do understand how difficult the past couple of days have been for all of us. Um, there is no point in hiding the fact that the World Cup qualification campaign did not go as expected, and we are now having some very in-depth internal discussion um, and trying to figure out where the adjustments need to be made. Um, Once we have settled on a couple of key decisions on the way forward, I will be hosting a press conference where I will be addressing many of the matters surrounding the national team program in a very comprehensive manner. Until such time, I just want to say to the entire nation that we are with you. We feel the hurt over the performance of the team. We are fans first and then everything else after. And clearly, things did not go as per planned. And, it's our job to really do a comprehensive review and dissect um, everything that would have taken place and try to figure out the best possible way forward. We have the Gold Cup ahead of us, which starts in a couple of weeks, and it is of utmost importance that we make the decisions that are necessary to ensure that the team is given the best possible chance to perform well.
There you have it from the president of the GFF, and maybe we can call on the most capped international man, the man who would have been part of the most recent Golden Jaguar team of the trio here we have. Walter, all the way in Finland, no doubt, still relishing that 1-0 victory. Finland would have started off in the European Cup, no doubt. Doing great things as a coach over there as well. Walter, you're impressed with what the president had to say. How do you um, view Guyana's performance? Would you join in the masses at large who are saying it was shameful, it was dismal?
I mean, to be honest, after watching that recent history with Guyana football leading up to where we actually we were a force to be reckoned with in the Caribbean. Um, we definitely attracted some quality players with heritage from Guyana, And I think now, if you don't make a change now, then when will it come? Looking at what's going on with Trinidad, even now they fired their coach, and they also have a qualifiers to the Gold Cup to go with. So, um, as much as I would love to agree with the president, I think it changes the score for now. It's no point in waiting anymore. We already seen this guy for 23 months, and I mean, I'm still not impressed with the record that he brought to Guyana, and it is what it is. We got to make some changes now in that aspect of the game if we even want to stand a chance going up against Guatemala.
I agree. Looking back on the games, or the group at the beginning, it was generally felt that, and that was in the minds of the followers of the sport, that it was a relatively easy group for Guyana to advance from, taking into consideration the state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago at that time. And
Yeah.
one would recall I stated categorically within the media that we can advance if we have adequate preparation. And I want to think that's where perhaps we were wanting and lacking. Um, Coyote as a coach, and having looked at the games, where would you say the deficiencies were, or you saw the team lacking? One thing that was evident in my mind, that the leadership there was no leader out there. When things were down, it was real flat. I don't know if you would have observed that. There was also the deficiency in terms of passing. Your thoughts on the performances?
First off, I I believe everything starts with leadership, and because leadership facilitate the process. Oftentimes we look at everything else. We look at the players. We look at the games, but it starts with leadership, and they have the responsibility to to set the tone, to set the culture. The performance is a representation of your preparation. Um, how you prepare is what you will see on the field. It matters not if you felt like you did everything possible in terms of your preparation to get you ready. If if the performance don't represent what you want, it means that something have not been done in the manner it should based on your preparation. So looking at the game, uh, what I struggle with is really identifying the identity of the team. You know who we are as a born Guyanese, as a Guyanese that grew up in the culture, that play the game from the youth level all the way to the senior level. I understand the culture of the people. The culture of the people must form the team. The team is a representation of the people. The team is not a representation of one coach or an organization. The team is a representation of the people because the people, the culture, is it draws the people to the field, and you see the emotions after a game. You see the emotions before a game. Is because the people feel the connection to the team. And if the team don't represent the people, but it represent a person, then you will see there's no connection between what is being seen and what the people represent. So for me, that is where I wasn't there with the preparation, but looking at the game, it there's nothing that I could have connected with be as a Guyanese, and understanding the culture of our people. It was hard for me to identify with what. So, like you said, it started with leadership, and you know, I go back to say that what we saw on the field, it don't necessarily mean that the coach is not good enough or not qualified enough. It's not saying that the players are not good enough or qualified enough to play. But when you talk about when you talk about identity and um, you talk about culture, it starts with leadership and how they connect. And if they don't connect and the ideas are not the same, then you see what you saw in the games. And I know everybody should be, even the coaches, even the president said it wasn't what they expect. So it's not what we expect. That's my take on what I saw. So I won't even go into what they didn't do or what they did do, because to go into that is to analyze something that has been in preparation. And I can't see the culture of the country on the field.
Um, as a proud son of the mining town of Linden, are you disappointed that there was no one from the mining town in a national team? That certainly was not for some time. I can't recall when last that possibly happened.
It's partly, I'm disappointed at the entire country because Linden is a representation of the country. It's not separated. Walter and I played together for years. He's from a different part of Guyana, but that was never we never differentiate who was from Georgetown, who was from Berbice, who was from Linden. It was Guyana's team, and the reason why there's no players from Linden for me is because it's a representation of what is happening with the developmental process. Uh, so we have to look now from a leadership standpoint. What are we not doing to see the representation, not just from Linden or Berbice or Georgetown, but do we have the best players on the field at all times? And to not have a Lindener, it if you could tell me why, then I could better understand. But I didn't see a why. I didn't see, what was the reason. I don't see a developmental process for players in Linden. I don't see coaching education for Linden. I don't see a player development plan for Linden. I don't see it. I hear a lot about, but I don't see. We don't have fields. We don't have coaches. We haven't run a league in since before. I can't remember a league running before the pandemic. I'm not sure, but it's a representation, Ras, of what is happening in the country. Linden would have produced some of the best players. We go back to School Richmond, and these are players. You know, I I was a young man growing up, and I would listen on the radio. Um, I knew Keith London before I knew Keith London, just from my uncle speaking about Keith London. So I was a big, I would say, I
Follow
was
the
a
game.
big respect. I had a big respect, not for what's happening now, but what happened before with the Pinheads and the Stanton and the Barnwells and way before them. My uncle would give me these stories, and I had a different pride for what the game represent, and I'm not seeing it. So I won't even speak on Linden, but I will speak on where's the player from Essequibo, where's the player from Berbice. So why are we not
In,
seeing the country
incident,
being developed?
incidentally,
Mm.
Guyana's first World Cup captain came from Essequibo, Maurice Moore. He's an
Wow,
Essequibo.
wow,
That's some history
So,
there.
but
that is some history there.
I think you have clearly identified a structural problem, and that has been inherent or been the thing, so to speak, since even before Keith London's time. Dr. Keith London, your thoughts on Guyana's performance and even um, going on what Coyote was talking about, the lack of structure thereof here in Guyana.
Well, I have to agree 100% with Coyote. I left Guyana 27 years ago, 1993. I played for Guyana since 1986 to 93, youth level, international level. And the things that I see back then, I'm still seeing. Um, for one, I think Guyana have a lot of unrealistic expectations without a good infrastructure in place. And I think that's what's lacking as Coyote see leadership and structure. Guyana is supposed to have a national youth program to build from a grassroots level. Guyana should stop worrying about making a World Cup in 2026, or they should have a 12 to 16-year plan, and it's supposed to have a vision with goals set that realistic, that can be met. I agree with Coyote in terms of identity and culture. When it's good to have all of these foreign players coming in, but a lot of these foreign players haven't grown up in an infrastructure in Guyana. Guyana is supposed to play with an identity that represents the people, flair, excitement, freedom. We don't have that. When I was watching the game, I didn't know exactly what I was looking at. Everything was so very pedestrian. No movements of the ball. There was no creativity. That's not Guyana. I play with guys like Stanton, Dion Barnwell, even go back with Roddy Walcott. Those guys had flair and identity. That's how they play with. I didn't see that. And I think it's because there's a lack of development. I think it has to start back way from the grassroots. We got to go back to like the U8s and the U6. I mean, I've been out of the country, so I can't speak about the coaching. But what I'm looking at from afar is I don't hear any big U14 tournament in Guyana, or any big school tournament, or any big on the 12th tournament. And that's where it needs to start from. We got to go back from the origination of what make teams or make country successful. Invest in the youth, invest in the youth soccer, invest in the youth football, make it a national event, having youth from the inner lands, having youth from Essequibo, and actually grow those youths within another 12 to 16 years process, and then see what we produce. But this little get quick fix stuff that we're trying to do by patching up things that is not really working, is continuing ongoing and ongoing. And I think I've been left Guyana 27 years, and I'm still seeing the same thing. We don't even have a facility like a national sports facility, a national football stadium that I was complaining about since I was playing. We play on a cricket field. I mean, if you really want to represent the Caribbean, already have a very strong impression in football worldwide, you have to invest in infrastructure that require good facilities, good coaches, and investing in the youth. I mean,
Well,
all we're doing is
obviously,
putting a band-aid on the problem. That's what we're doing. We're putting a band-aid on the problem, and we're gonna have the same, we've been having the same results entirely. Yeah, we might have a patch of time where we do well because we might have a good group of kids like with the team that Walter came up. I followed that team. Those guys came up from a youth level. Now because it's not recycling, when that team has elevated, then what we have. So we have to have an ever flow of elevation with youth football infrastructure. So when that group elevated, retired, we have the same identity of players, the same structure of players coming in. So we don't have a major drop off. And that's the struggle I think we have it.
okay, Walter, as a coach, as a man who has been around and played World Cup qualification, do you recall ever being on a World Cup campaign where the coach is experimenting with a squad at that level? Would you agree with what most of the fans were clamoring for, and that is the inclusion of Neil Dans, who, in everyone's estimation, will go down in the annals of Guyana's football as one of the better midfielders we have produced? Was he sorely missed at this World Cup campaign, like
Um,
some people would want to believe?
I think Dan's has been missed in the squad. I think he's a creative player. He brings some flair to the team, and I I think he could have done something better. We can use that, but I still think that we're missing the huge the huge point of it. Um, I'm gonna touch up a bit on what Dr. Keith said, and
Yeah,
what people don't get is this. After we finished playing U23, Jamal Shabazz took over Guyana senior national team. He saw natural raw talent in some of us, which we have. But
right.
to go to the next level, we need to get the youngsters them out of Guyana or in a playing professional environment where they can develop and grow as players. Now, Jamal took about 14 of us and send us off to Trinidad to get that experience to get developed. That's the way how we could have come back to Guyana and put Guyana on the map on 2016 and beat people. The entire starting 11 from Guyana Gold Cup team, campaign team in 2006, 2007, and Coyotes here, we were all playing professionally in Trinidad. We had a few local boys them who could have keep up, but the entire starting team was playing in Trinidad. And that was at that time the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League was a high league. It was a league to be reckoned with. So we were recognized because we were on a professional environment. We were training as professionally. We've been paid. We've been playing competitively day in, week in, month in. I think this is what's lacking in Guyana football. Yes, we got good young talent. It's no doubt about it. We won a U17 tournament a few years back. But then when the boys them turn 2021, what's next for them? Who is getting
Where are
contract
they?
outside? Who are we helping to get outside to get the opportunity to continue developing? That's it. So after 2021, when you can't play anymore, what do? You gotta go look for a job because you gotta feed your family. I think that's what's missing. That's the big thing that is missing in Guyana football because the game has changed so much these days now that at some point in time, if you don't have a league that is run constantly and a league where players can be competitive and strive and develop, then it's a waste of time all around.
I certainly agree with you, and I think that is one of the things I've been highlighting. The players were not match ready because lack of competition. Obviously, gelling the foreign players with the local players in such a short space of time does not provide for that gelling and that cohesiveness so instantly. So it will take time, but like you're highlighting and like Keith has highlighted as well, there is need for a competitive league in the country, and of course we have completely overlooked the fact that we have a global pandemic, which obviously will be blamed or could be blamed or partially blamed for what's going on with the sport here. But before the pandemic, the league had collapsed virtually and there was no football going. And it is incumbent on the federation getting those funds from FIFA to ensure that some competitive league is being provided for so that the talents wouldn't fall prey to the ills of society. So I think we are all agreeing structurally there needs to be more attention there and more revisiting as to what we have and as to what we need in terms of going forward. Coyote, as the coach, you share that view?
I think I will go to the point where yes, we need to play, but we must also realize that playing is implementation. It starts with the education. It start. We could play every week. We could play every month. We could play the most tournaments. We could play the most youth tournaments. But if we're spending more time playing, when are we spending? What time are we spending to develop? And what time are we spending to build the awareness and the consciousness of the players so they are at that level of unconscious competence? At the next level, at the international level, what you see is players have the ability to navigate what they need to do on a field without instructions. And this is a big issue with not just Guyanese players, but when you look across the Caribbean, we struggle when we get to the USA's and we get to the Mexicos, and it's like we it's like we go in there to do our best. It's never a mentality that we can actually compete and we can win. because of the education. You know, it's all good to play games. It's and I share sentiments with the other personnel here, to send the players out. But to send the players out, the education must start at home. And because if we send the players out and they're not ready, how the game is going, most coaches and they don't have the time to give you the time. So if we don't start from 8 and 6, and we don't rebuild the culture, we don't rebuild the identity. So, and we don't go back to the Dr. Kit London to let them be the representation for the kids, and to use them as role models. What are they looking at? There's no culture. What they see is different faces, and you have to understand. I look at colonialization as when you bring somebody, they enforce their ideology on a country. So when you constantly bring people, they enforce their ideology. And when they leave after 6 months or they leave after 2 years, you are stuck with this ideology, and then somebody else come, and then you have to now rewire your brain to a next ideology. Because when people come, they come with their own framework. They're not coming on the basis of what is the culture of this country, and do you have the idea to evolve the culture, not your idea, not yes, your qualifications, your pro license, all those things speaks well, but does that connect your idea of the game? Does it connect with the culture? And if it connects with the culture, how do you evolve the culture with your idea? What I'm seeing is people are coming in and they're forming their own culture. And then you have this group of people who have independence but don't really have an independent mind. So now when they leave, we have our independence, but we are stuck with an ideology that don't fit our culture. And then we'll bring somebody else and they'll say, no, this is not how the game play. This is how I want you to play. And it keeps going on and going on. So when will the players get to the point where they could identify and say, this is who Guyana is. This is how we play. This is our way. I'm not talking about systems, styles. I'm not talking about training methodology and coaching. I'm talking about who we are as a people. And what does that look like? And until that changes, what you will see is, yeah, we'll go through how many times do we hear we're going through a developmental process? But you development with 27 and 30-year-old players who mind have already been fixed with a philosophy or an ideology that is not even theirs. So Shabazz came and he established one thing. The next coach came, established something else. The next coach came, established something else. This is a big problem, Ras, and we as a people have not been trained how to lead, how to think, how to behave. We have always took things from people, and we have always allowed people to empower us, but yet we have independence. So where's the independence in our football? How are we represented? How are we going to send a player out? What is he going to represent? Is he going to represent the Spanish way? Is he going to represent the German way? Is he going to represent the Brazilian way? So how will the other players come through if we don't have no identity? So if the player, wait, listen to this. If the first player we send represent the Trinidadian way or the Spain way, but then the 6-year-old come up and he playing like the Guyana way, what happened to him? Boy, you're not ready. Because we don't know that culture. We don't know that identity. And to do that, you must show that it works. So I share in terms of getting us there, but we have to go back to soccer education. We have to go back where the work is being done at home. And if it's done properly at home, we'll see it on the international level.
And that's the only way you can see the progress, linking the education and the passion.
I'm with you.
Dr. London, I know Coyote was singing from the same hymn book in your opening that you were talking about starting from the bottom, building up the Guyana football. There have been talks, we've heard that there are academies, so to speak, whether it's in actuality, the federation, and they speak of grassroots football, which we know have been existing long before this current administration is promoting it as though it is something new. Grassroots football has been going on for ages. So, how do we address these identifiable deficiencies in going forward with Guyana's football? What do you think is lacking besides the vision from within the administration? Do you think the diverseness in the country, the community is so far and wide apart is that could be an impediment?
This is I'm not here to criticize any administration or coach. I'm here about solution. And now I'm going to speak as a professional. Um, they have to have some independent study, and it shouldn't be a study from the Ghana football. It should be an independent group who go and assess the structural aspect of Guyana based on some of the barriers, some of the challenges, some of the resources of lack of. Because in order for this transition to be made, it has to be more than football. It has to be government interaction, the private sector. You have to be understanding of the economy of the country, the limitation and the lack of limitation in the resources, because this is an overall aspect in terms of if we're going to do this. So the first thing I would recommend is to have an independent organization who study where are the breakdown or the barrier lies why Guyana can accomplish on a sustained level um, the results that we requested. That's the first thing that needs to be done. Um, Next, I honestly think that there have to be some type of interaction between the private sector, the government, and the Ghana Football Association with the independent in the association in terms of being on the same level of vision in terms of what we need to have. And then I think we build from that. Because in order for us to succeed, I could go back when I first saw Anthony Stanton play football. He played bare feet. He didn't have no shoes on. We played in the U14. And he was destroying people with no shoes on. So there was an economic issue. So now we have to look at is economic or is that a barrier in terms of resources that lacking? And if that's a barrier or a challenge, what do we need to overcome those barriers? What resources do we need? So it's not only about playing football at football level. We have to look at the entirety of what causing these challenges of lack of these challenges that a country sustains. So yeah, I honestly think there should be an independent study, not someone from the football association. Some group outside would have less biasness to go in and said, hey, these are where we see the breakdown and the structural issues are, and this is the way it needs to be fixed. It can't be fixed overnight.
Certainly share those sentiments. Walter, anything you would like to add to that in terms of looking at the infrastructure that you obviously would have come up as a youngster, but then you were privileged to get in the professional exposure, obviously.
I
So
think
you have
Dr.
a great
London.
story and experience to share as well.
I think Dr. London hit the nail on the head right there with that. If we really want to see Guyana on the map again 10 years from now, because it's I still feel like we're not using our full potential, especially in this last campaign. But we need to go way back to grassroots and see what's missing, if it's finance, if it's structural, whatever it is. And then we try to work on that. And then at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, then we try something else again. But I think Dr. London is clear on that, and I don't think I can sum that up any way better.
Indeed, as we look forward to the Gold Cup, less than a month, Coach Coyote, would it be wise to make changes after the dismal run in the World Cup, or do you continue on the same path to strengthen? Do we recall some players that were lacking particular experience because the team was relatively young? I must admit.
Uh, it's to me it's a lot of why do we stay on the path that we're staying, and if that is clear, and they can identify that, then as a coach, I could understand if the shoe fits. um, all of us got shoes, but if the shoe fits what the GFF wants to see, and they believe, because football is about moving from uncertainty to trust, and I don't know the mind of GFF and what they're looking for. I've never sat with them to understand their their mission or their vision for Guyana football. But just as a supporter, based on what we saw in the game, sometimes things don't fit. It's I've played in one time I played, and I want to be careful, because I don't, like I spoke to you earlier. It's about education. It's about developing. When I was playing in Northeast Star, we had a coach from Portugal, and he he wanted us to play a certain way, and I really liked it because I really appreciate the intelligence of the game when it comes to really having to play chess. So I liked it, but a group of players didn't like it, and these were very prominent players within the team. The coach got fired, and it's not because the coach wasn't good. It's just the coach, the idea or the ideology of the coach did not fit with the group he was working with.
And
So
that
if something is not working, it's not something based on the level we played at and what we see. If again we talk about performance analysis, who's doing that? Who's doing that to really clearly identify with what the problems were, and can it be fixed in this period of time? Did you pick the right players? Who are these players a representation of what you want to see? All of these things. Who focusing on that, or is it just, if it's just let's give it time? I don't know, but if it's not working, it's up to the people. Back again, Ras, back again. Leadership must decide what they've seen, and do they have the correct data? Do they have the correct analysis of what truly happened, or are we just saying, well, the players couldn't pass the ball, or the players weren't making runs? Could we identify with how many times did we give away the ball in our defensive third? We tried it. We tried 20 times, and out of 17 times, we give it away. Is somebody saying that? Is somebody saying, listen, what were you saying at halftime? What was the changes? Are we down to those details to make better assessment? Not just say the coach not good, but what the coach doing, is it connected to who we have and what we want to represent? And if that is clear, then we'll make clear decisions. But if we're only making emotional decisions, then I think we will go right back to where we started. A new ideology, no culture, no identity, and then we back again in the roller coaster. He ain't good, she not good, this person not good. We can't keep doing that. So for me, they have to, if they show me why they going forward or why they're not going forward, I think they get the respect of this soccer environment. And if they don't do that, then all the thing doctor talking about, but getting stakeholders in, nobody don't want to be connected to things that are not transparent, and especially when there's no success, when there's no progress. I don't see it. So I really don't have
exactly. If
for
a
that.
coach
This is my
is not
answer to that.
if a coach is not progressive and he's not having success, he gets the axe.
We
That's the
we know
reality
that.
in football.
We know
Look
that.
what
We
has
know that.
happened in Trinidad. Trinidad
No,
got second in the group, but Fenwick is a goner.
That's
And
my
that's
point.
the harsh reality of the football world. If you do
Yeah,
not deliver,
You gotta
you'll
go.
be shown the door. I
Yeah.
yeah.
want to
Remember
bring
it.
in I want to bring in a piece
Mhm.
by a former national youth player and senior player. Before I was part of a youth squad once with him in the late 80s, early 80s, sorry. And he lives in Atlanta there. I think Dr. Keith London should be familiar with James Paul. And he gives his perspective on what transpired. And I would like us to take a listen and even respond to what, because I think he has pinpointed to something that none of us have really touched. And I think Keith London is touching it a little.
Greetings from Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks, Brother Ras Abdallah, for giving me this wonderful platform on Real Football Vibes to express my views as a fan of our Golden Jaguars senior men's national football program. To answer your question, I am disappointed, but definitely not surprised by the recent string of defeats suffered by our lads on the big stage and under the bright lights of World Cup 2022 qualifiers. I'm reminded of a profound quote made by Herm Edwards, the New York Jets football coach, a few years ago. Herm said, "You play to win the game." Hello? Like our Golden Jags, Herm's New York Jets was on a losing streak. But he didn't shy away from the media. He faced them head on. He took ownership. He called a spade a spade. "Don't tell me about tomorrow," Herm said, visibly angry and frustrated. "I don't want to hear about tomorrow." Like Mr. Edwards, I don't want to hear about World Cup 2026 right now. Our fledgling national program with limited resources, a pandemic, and a new head coach doesn't have the luxury of putting all our eggs in that World Cup 2026 basket, okay? Our pre pandemic national team wasn't broke, was it? Yet the new head coach tried to fix it. If I were a gambling man, I would bet that pre pandemic squad under the same conditions would have delivered better results in 2021 than the current squad did. If the new head coach and the GFF are indeed playing the long game, that is, putting all of their eggs in that World Cup 2026 basket, then they should man up and let the world know. They should hold a press conference like Herm Edwards did, face the press, and tell the fans the truth. They should call all of the senior, older players of that successful pre pandemic squad and tell them the truth. Maybe if they had done that and leveled with us, we would have lowered our expectations and been a little more patient. Maybe, after all, World Cup 2026 would be held in our backyard. It would be a dream come true for all Jaguar fans if our lads qualified to play on that big stage. Sadly, based on what I've seen so far, I'm not confident we are on track to even come in close to qualifying for 2026. If I'm right, then the national program is now officially broke. It's time to fix it. Now, not tomorrow. Let's get back to winning games. Thank you.
Yes, James Paul. Walter, you want to take it first? Your thoughts on what James um, was saying there, the program is broke and they need to come. And I think Coyote was alluding to that, the transparency which seems seemingly is lacking.
You know, I don't think I don't think there's no need for me to touch up on that. That's a powerful statement. And Coyote touched on that also, and I mean, it's no hiding it anymore. It's no reason to hide it anymore. I still questioning why every time the team assemble is such a small window to prepare a team, but yet still every FIFA international dates, the squad is being rotated. We get to hear about the squad 2 days before games. Like, I don't get it, but they need to face the media and let people know what's going on.
Yes, I agree with you. We are not utilizing that international FIFA dates in terms of branding the team, promoting the team, and you would know as even better than me the underlining factor there will always be finance.
Yeah,
So what do? We have to create ways and means how we can generate funds to sustain whatever programs we have. I was privileged to be in Trinidad and Tobago 1989 strike squad time when there was great disappointment. I was there 2006 5 when they qualified. I was in Jamaica in 97 when they qualified. And what I experienced, it was a total national involvement. It was not the federation alone. And until we as a people understand the importance of being nationally involved in the Golden Jaguars or any national team or sporting athlete, then and only then we can reap the rewards and the success. Because as we know, many hands make light work. So the more people you have on board, it's better for the program. So inclusivity is mainly one of the objectives of this program, Real Football Vibes, where we provide a platform to include all who are involved in the sport, to send these messages that it is time we have change in our football. Like in the opening, we heard that we are the oldest football federation in this hemisphere, but we are the least achieved. So I think it is time not only we, the past players, present players as well, we start thinking about how best we can change this around. I think Dr. London came up with a brilliant idea, establishing some independent body to really look into it in detail and really take it into the lab, so to speak, and do the microscopic or the forensic audit and what is to be done. But we cannot continue this way. Of course, the sport of football has proven how powerful the fans are. Recently, there was a Super League in England where the fans showed how powerful they were and actually dismantled that European Super League. Within a week, the Super League was a Ghana. So we were able to catch up with about several fans, even from the diaspora, who voiced their opinion as well on the World Cup performances. Let's hear what these fans had to say.
And from what I'm seeing, I haven't. I can't rate him on his performance, on his team performance. I can't rate him at all, because I haven't seen anything that Guyana we can say, hey, we bring in a new coach and we see something different. It's the same football, same football as that kick and run kind of football. I haven't seen nobody like bringing the ball to the defense, controlling, coming up with it, making plays, going forward. Every time they come up with the ball's been taken away. They got to run back. It's a continuity of not good football. So what I'm hoping that the GFF president would try and get somebody better than this coach we do have here, because he hasn't shown me anything as a coach with the players that he have. And like I said, majority of the players that played are overseas players. What I'd like to see is that we have some little more locals getting involved in playing on this national team. I think we have players that who could play and who's very skillful, So I feel we should start. I'm not downing on the foreign players because we don't need them. They have exposures and they play in a higher level than us here. So we could incorporate them with our guys and we could form a good team. And we could do together as a national team, I want to see better for Guyana.
I think Guyana football, they're way behind. We got to change the system. The system in football is poor. The first thing I think, we need a new coach. We got to get next coach. I don't even know what system Guyana playing. It make I feel like if I don't know how to play football back in nowadays, the league was running for a whole year. We had 6 and 7 competition in 1 year. You got too wrong a league. And now for the last 3-4 years, we don't have a football going on in Guyana. Not even a league, not even a knockout. So how Guyana want to take part in competition, international competition, and don't have a league? You can't see the quality of the players them. So it's real poor. And then we preparing for go to the Gold Cup. But if we withdraw and don't play no football at all and get ourselves together, it's so sad to know our football is in a mess. Sorry to say it, but it's real poor. Back in my time when I playing, we had no overseas players. We had quality players just because our football standard was real high. It was competitively, we had league. Yeah, everybody was finding position. Now you see the bringing players from overseas, and the overseas players are coping with the local players because football and playing.
The technical director and the coach need to be replaced in order to fix our football situation. It is too long now. Too long. One cannot continue to use and abuse our players. Our players must be treated with the utmost respect at all times. It is time for the necessary change. Again, the technical director and the coach need to be replaced. All right? We had enough. Let's get the ball rolling. I said it many times and I'm going to say it again. Our football will not get back to where it needs to be until we begin to respect our own.
There you have it from three very ardent fans I know, great lovers and followers of the Golden Jaguars over the years. But coaches, Dr. Keith London, time has really flew by. They're always up. I don't want to intrude on more of your time. I highly and greatly appreciate you responding and being part of this debut show, and looking forward to have you on more shows as we continue to build real football vibes, keeping it real on the beautiful game. Let's hear your final thoughts, comments, and Guyana's football, the performance, and going forward, Gold Cup. Dr. London, you want to open the button on this occasion? Kick off the ball?
Well, one thing I wanted to say is I think what I've learned as in my career, my profession, is any business or any organization that you run, you should want to make a profit. Meaning, Guyana football should be a business. It shouldn't be we have some money and let's spread it out. It's supposed to be how could we invest in the resources we have to generate a profit. And our biggest resources we have right now is our players. That's the biggest resources. How could we invest in these players at a very grassroots level to make a profit? So if they change the vision or the concept of what the association is about or what football is about and treat it as a business, I think we can get better results because our vision is going to be different.
Coyote, sticking in America before we go all the way to Europe.
Yeah. For a very long time, we were taught that we were not leaders and we cannot lead. And we've always felt like we need to replace our culture with a new culture and not uplift our culture and don't educate our culture. There's a reason why you fight for independence because nobody give it to you. And if you're gonna fight for independence, then you must also build an independent mind. And for us to develop, for us to give our people, our players, our athletes, our administrators, our coaches the power, we must find a way to build our leadership skills. We must find a way to educate our own. And if you have your own who would have given and want to continue to give, you must respect that. To not do that is to give away your culture. And there's no development when the values, the identity, the culture, the philosophy, the ideology, when they don't come together, nothing, absolutely nothing will change. So if you're going to change the coach and he's talking about development, then you have to change who is driving the developmental ideas. So let's see what happens in the near future.
Walter, the honor is yours to seal it as the elder statesman of the three, having the most
Man,
caps.
after Dr. Kit London and Coyote speak, now I feel
They didn't
so
for you to say.
I'm lost for words right now. I'm lost for words right now. But I think we need to really stop and see that what direction we really trying to head to, and and go back to what gave us success in the first place, and how we can recreate that success, and how we can develop our own, as Coyote said. And it's not only players, we need to develop coaches, we need to develop structures and stuff like that in order for us to also stand a chance in the CFU. So I think those are the basic things that we have to take more serious.
Great, and thank you again. It would be remiss of me not to mention CONCACAF World Cup second round qualifiers continue tonight. Curacao hosting Panama. They're down 1-2. Then at 9:05, Canada hosts Haiti, who trail by the odd goal. And El Salvador, with their tails up at home with a 4-goal cushion, will take on St. Kitts, the only other English speaking Caribbean team in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. Of course, the big game coming up, France against Germany in the Euros. There will be no Copa America until Thursday, and Real Football Vibe should be back on Friday, where we are hopeful of having something from the federation by this time, some understanding as to where we're going, and certainly they can respond to some of the important points that were presented here today. Gentlemen, I appreciate your input and your participation. Thank you for some of your precious time. Do have a rest of the evening as blessed as can be. Thanks again. One love.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. You same
So
guys.
there you go, debut show one, and thanks to Rashdi for providing the technical assistance. See you around until another time.